Avi Havivi Siddur class at Temple Beth Am, and this is it's February 4th, 2020, and we're going to try to wrap up Pesukei de Zimra today. I'm optimistic. Okay. Terry asked last time, I'm going to pass this around, like, how do I know this stuff? So I said, well, I read books. So here's a good book in English. I think it's might be 11 volumes or 10 volumes or something, but I'm sure you can buy it cheap used on whatever your source is, called My People's Prayer Book. That's just one volume. It's the volume on Pesukei de Zimra. Okay. I want to take a quick look back at Baruch Shamar and then Yishtabach, because I want to look at the envelope, okay? Just sort of see how the envelope works, because some of the words will echo. So I want you to see the beginning of the envelope and the end of the envelope. So Baruch Shamar, page 16 in the Siddur Shim Shalom weekday. We're not going to go over that first half again. We did that for weeks and weeks. I just want to look at the bracha itself on the second half of the page. So second half of the page, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. I just want you to hear the words, because then we're going to look at Yishtabach and we're going to hear some of the same words. That's why I'm going back to it, because then you'll sort of feel how it's an envelope for Pesukei de Zimra. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Ha'el ha'av ha'rachaman, God, merciful parent. Ha'mehulal b'fi amo, who is praised by God's nation. Who is praised by the mouth of his nation. Mishubach umfoar bilshon chasidav avadav, who is praised and glorified by the lashon tongue, which really means like words, but it's obviously parallel to mouth. Lashon chasidav avadav, his faithful ones and servants. So we have several synonyms of praise: mihulal, mishubach, mifoar. Okay, so God is praised. So what are we about to do? Uvshirei David Avdecha, with the poems or songs of your servant David, Nehalelcha, we will praise. So it's the same as Mihulal, same root, Halel. We will praise you, Hashem Elokeinu, Bishvachot Uvizmirot, with praises and hymns, Nigadelcha, Unshaberchacha, Unfarecha, so we have five verbs. We will greatify you, that's nigadel, we will greatify you. Shabechacha, we will praise you. Nifa'ercha, we will glorify you. V'nazkir shimcha, we will mention your name, or make your name. Mention doesn't mean just like, oh, I mentioned in a conversation, but it's sort of like, we make your name renowned, all right? V'namlichacha, and we kingify you. Malkeinu Eloheinu, our sovereign and Lord. Yachid, Chai Olamim, unique one, living forever one. Melech, Meshubach Umforar, Adeyat Shemo HaGadol, king, who is praised and glorified, or should be praised and glorified, for his great name should be praised and glorified for how long? Adeyad, forever. Baruch Atah Hashem, Melech Mulal, Batish Bechod. Sovereign, who is praised with praises, although different roots, Mehulal, right, Hallel and Shevach. And if you said to me, like, what's the difference between a Hallel and Shevach? I'd say to you, oh, I have no idea. They both mean praise, right? So we have this heaping up of verbs and nouns. The verbs are praise, glorify, greatify you, right? These that are all, loosely speaking, synonyms, although you could make very fine distinctions between them if you felt the need to. And then we have all these synonyms also for praises, songs, psalms, hymns. Okay? So we say, you are praiseworthy, and we are therefore about to praise you. Okay? And then we do Pesukei de Zimra, so then we enact what we said we were going to do. We do all those praises, and then when we conclude it with a bracha. So page 29, Yishtabach, forgot my reading glasses at home today, so I'm not really sure. Is it 29? Is it 20? I think it's 29. Okay. So this closes the envelope. Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu. May your name be praised forever, O God. Ha'el, ha'melech, ha'gadol, ha'kadosh, v'hashamayim v'aretz. Deity, who is sovereign, great and holy in heaven and earth. What does heaven and earth mean?
Everything.
Everywhere, right? So it's in Bible studies they call it a merism, merism, or in Latin a merismus. It means when you say from top to bottom, right? Or from A to Z. You don't even have to say A. You could just say animal, mineral, and vegetable. I mean everything, right? So in heavens and earth, it means in the whole universe. Ki lecha na'eh, for it is nice or appropriate or pretty. Hashem Elokeinu Elokeinu Elokeinu, Hashem our deity and God of our ancestors. What is na'eh? What is appropriate or meet, M-E-E-T in old-fashioned English? For you, shir ushvacha, halel v'zimra. So we have these same parallels. Song and praise. Praise and song, right? Zimra is like shir and Hallel is like Shevach, right? I can't even tell you the difference between Hallel and Shevach. They both really mean praise in English, right? Oz umemshalah, greatness and sovereignty. That's a little unusual, right? Because that's not praise. But I think what that means is that's like when we greatify God, when we declare God king, okay? So when we talk of your Oz and Memshalah, your might and your rulership. Netzach, Gedulah, Uvurah, power or eternity, Netzach. Greatness and might, Tehillah v'Tiferet, praise and glory, Kedusha u'Malchut, holiness and sovereignty. So all of these things, so some of it is praises, but again, so holiness and sovereignty means we are declaring your holiness and sovereignty. So although you'd say, that's different than praises, in context it means all of the things that get said about you that we have just been saying about you for the past 7 to 10 minutes in Pesukei de Zimra.
Almost as though the composer has had a thesaurus.
Yeah, correct. Although in the composer's mind there was a thesaurus. Yes.
Isn't Memshalah Prime Minister?
Say it again.
Memshalah.
Memshalah. So Memshalah literally means government. So in this context it means sovereignty. Because Moshel just means to rule, literally rulership. Literally means rulership. It's Rosh HaMemshalah, it means prime minister, because that means head of the government. So in modern Israeli, very good Bernie, Memshalah means government, okay? And Moshel means a ruler, okay?
You're not holding the seat.
Pardon?
You're not holding the seat.
Okay, so there is a minhag that for Baruch She'amar, you hold your first 2 tzitzit.
Right.
And then you kiss them at the end of Baruch She'amar. Pardon?
I did not see that
At B'nai David. By the way, that's the kind of thing like, it's always okay to go over to Rav Yosef and say, so what's the story with the minhag of holding the tzitzit? Is everyone supposed to do that? How come we don't do that? Go ask, right? But as far as I am aware, there is no minhag to do that for Yishtabach. That would be nice if there was. You would think like the symmetry, exactly. If you were writing it, you would say, yes, you would do that. Okay.
You should do it.
Okay. But as far as I know, that is not a minhag. Okay. Kedusha u'Malchut. I think, right, I'm not sure there's really a period here. I think it really should be a comma after Malchut. So it is appropriate for you praise and glorify and your sanctity and your holiness and your sovereignty. Brachot ve'hodaot me'ata ve'ad olam. Blessings and hodaot is usually translated as praises, but lahodot means to thank or acknowledge. So blessings and acknowledgments. Me'ata ve'ad olam. Now, when is now? What we've just done, what we've just done, and forever, okay? And we had, remember, in Baruch Shamar, we had Adayad, right? Remember that? And here, Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu. And now we have Me'ata Ve'ad Olam, now and forevermore, okay? So again, what we're saying is we are doing this thing which you, God, deserve, as it were. This is appropriate to praise you, and we should praise you forever. Okay? Then this is the intro to Yishtabach, right? Then finally, the bracha. It's the lead-in to the bracha. So the bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, deity, sovereign, who is great in praises. El HaHodaot, God who gets thank yous, God who gets acknowledgments. Adon HaDiflaot, master of all amazingnesses. HaBocher B'Shirei Zimra, who literally Bocher means chooses, but it's like Ritzeh. It means to accept favorably or to like. So we're saying that God, not in human terms, right, but I'm going to put it in quotes, appreciates our praises, meaning just as when you go before a sovereign and you praise the king could like you or could be uninterested in you or angry with you, you would want the sovereign to kind of smile, as it were, when you do praises. Okay? This is a good compromise. We're going to leave at 8:30, but you can come in and set up before then.
Being annoying?
No. It's great. Come, set up.
I actually
Good.
kind of jealous of all
Do
the
your thing.
learning from him.
Do your thing. Do your thing. Okay. So habocher, right? Which of course is a key word. When is it going to come up? In two brachot, ahava rabbah, when we say Hashem is bocher b'mo Yisrael b'ahava, chooses us. Me, he chose me. Right. It's like someone got a date as a teenager. Me, can you imagine? Out of everyone in the world, he chose me. That's kind of habocher b'mo Yisrael b'ahava. So that word kind of foreshadows choosing us, but here it's not that. It's habocher b'shirei zimra, and it really means God likes, appreciates, values, okay, these poems of praise. Melech El Chei HaOlamim. Sovereign, deity, eternal one. Okay? So basically, Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach are the envelope that contains the hymns of praise. Okay? And they really kind of mirror each other. I mean, they're not like word for word, and I'm not sure they were written together, right? But they clearly mirror each other linguistically, right? We have all these loosely speaking synonyms: Hallel, Shirah, Zimra, Shevach, right? And what's the purpose of it? Legadel, Lefa'er, and we have the things are Mirot, Shirot, Tishbachot. Okay, and by the way, and it has a poetic sound to it. You know, when you sort of heap up synonyms, it has a poetic kind of ring to it, and I think it's meant to sound poetic. And we're basically saying here in this section we have hymns, and the purpose of hymns is to praise you, and the bocher is, and we hope you like it. We think you like it. We don't want you to be rolling your eyes and exasperated with us and rejecting us, metaphorically speaking, right? We want you to receive these praises favorably. Okay?
But I think it's also interesting that we're taking an action and putting Hashem on a pedestal and kingifying, like you said.
Yes.
Before we acknowledge his kingship, so it's like we're active participants.
Right. Okay. So I'm now going to hand out just a little, and I don't have enough for everyone, so maybe look on. Larry, can you look on? Jonathan? You guys can look on. You guys are you're too far away. Here, I'll give you one. I'll give you one. Okay, good sign. So this is from Siddur Rav Amram Gaon, which is the first Siddur that we have. I think it's 850-ish. Yeah. And Rav Amram Gaon was a Gaon, which means he was the leader of the yeshiva in Babylonia, and his Siddur takes the form of a letter. Someone writes to him from Spain and says, hey, we here in Spain, sends a gift to the yeshiva and says, by the way, we here in Spain, we're just confused about what is the correct order of prayer. But perhaps you could set us straight. So Rav Amram sends back a long letter saying, thank you for your gift to the yeshiva and give regards to the head of your community. And here is the order of prayer. Okay? And this is actually, so far, the first Siddur that we know of. The first written Siddur that we know of. I think 850-ish. And the next one is, it's about, or 800-ish. I always get my Gaonim mixed up. And then right after that is Sa'adya Gaon, who's about 75 years later. These are the two earliest Siddurim in existence. Okay, so I'm going to read the Rashi script for you. So page Yud Zayin, Seder Pesukei de Zimra. Ucheshenichnasin Yisrael bebatei knesiot lehitpalel. When Jews assemble in synagogue to pray, Omed Chazan HaKnesset Upoteach. The Chazan stands up and says, okay? Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu. So what did you do at home? You said your Bechot HaShachar at home. You gather in shul, the Chazan stands up, and davening begins the following way in the year 850. Baruch she'amar v'haya baruch hu. Baruch, notice, this is not exactly the same. It's 90% what our Baruch Shamar is, but only 90%. Baruch Shamar v'yalam, Baruch hu, Baruch Omer v'oseh, Baruch Gozer Kayem, Baruch Oseh Breshit, so it's out of order compared with ours. Baruch Merachem al haaretz, Baruch Merachem al habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov Lire'av, Baruch Ma'avir Afela Umevi Ora. Blessed is the one who dispels darkness and brings light. That phrase got kicked out of our Baruch Shamar. Why do you think it got kicked out? Because what are we going to do right after Baruch Hu? Yotzer or Uvorei Chosha. So we're going to talk about God as ruler of light. Maybe that's why it's kicked out. I don't know. Baruch El Chai La'ad V'Kayam Lanetzach. Baruch She'ein Lefanav Avla V'lo Shichecha V'lo Masu Panim V'lo Mekach Shochad. Tzadiku B'chol Drachav. Blessed is the one who before him or in his presence there's no corruption or forgetting or favoritism or bribe taking, meaning he is a faithful, honest judge. Tzadiku b'chol drachav. He is righteous in all his ways.
No speculation on why that get taken out?
Don't know, right? Don't know. My speculation would be, like, it doesn't generally fit with Birchot HaShachar. With Pesukei de Zimra in general, there's not that much about judging. Or maybe we want to open with merciful and kind and loving and not judging. Don't know. And in Shabbat, you add another line. Baruch Asher Natan Menucha Lamo Yisrael. Blessed is the one who gives Menucha, rest, to his people Israel. We don't do that. Uva Moed, on festivals, you add Baruch Asher Natan Moadei Simcha V'Chagei Nedava Lamo Yisrael. We do not add that on festivals. But then, Baruch El Chai La'ad V'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo, Baruch Zichro Le'ol Me'ad. Blessed is his memory for all eternity. Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, that's what that abbreviation is. Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaKadosh, Av HaRachaman, Me'ulal B'fi Amo, Meshubach, Ufar B'Lshon Kol Chasidav Avadav. Uv'shirei David Avdecha, Nelcha Hashem Elokeinu, B'Shivachav, Uv'Yizbirav, Nehodecha, Negadelcha, Neshabechacha, Nefaercha, Neremcha, V'Namlicha, V'Nakishcha, V'Natzaricha, V'Naskishcha, Alkeinu Lahenu, Yachid Chel Alamim, B'Shubach, V'Fa'ar Shmo, Adei Ad, Baruch Ata Hashem, Melech Mulal Batish Bachot. I said 90%, I'm going to take it back. 80%?
Yeah.
80% Baruch Shamor. Okay? And then, the last line in Rashi is Ulofanenu by Yeshiva, Kach Minhag. So in our time in the yeshiva, this is the practice. Omed HaChazan ve'omer. The Chazan stands, it says, Eile varecha ve'eile basusim v'anachnu b'shem Eloheinu nazkir, which is actually not part of our Pesukei de Zimra at all.
Well, we say that line.
We say that line before Uvalatzia. That's from Lam Natseach, after the second Ashrei, before Uvalatzia. Ve'omer Yehi Chvod Hashem Leolam, which we do say that one, right? That's the litany of verses. Ad Hamelch Hareinu. Ashrei Yoshvei V'Techa. Ad Me'atav Ad Olam Hallelujah. So we do that. But remember that, so look for a moment at, let's take a quick look. Look at page 17, 18, 19. None of that. Page 20, Mizmor LaTodah, none of that. Yehi Chvod Hashem Leolam, yes.
They don't have to stand up.
Ashrei, yes. And then it says in Rashi's script, I won't read it, but it says, and then you continue with the whole Parsha up until Kol HaNeshama Tehallel Yah, Hallelujah. Meaning, yes, you read Psalms 145 through 150,
Yeah.
which we do, okay? And then go back to the square script. Hashem yimloch leolam va'ed, the next to last paragraph. Hashem yimloch leolam va'ed, ki Hashem amlucha moshel bagoyim. V'alu moshim bar tzion l'shpot ha'aretz v'aytal Shema v'yad echad. So that's those last two lines we say right before Yishtabach. But none of that,
They skipped Az Yashir.
all that Az Yashir, so all the stuff that we thought, we sort of feel like, oh, Az Yashir, we stand. It's like the climax of Pesukei de Zimra. It's totally missing. By the way, Maimonides, about 300 years later in his Siddur, his law code, he has the order of prayer, and he says, after Yishtabach, I just looked it up last night, some people have the minhag to say Az Yashir. Some people have the minhag to say Ha'azinu, the poem which is the
Really?
next to last parsha of the Torah.
Right.
Some people have the minhag to say both, Az Yashir and Ha'azinu, and everyone should go according to their minhag. So this idea that Az Yashir, we stand in all of this history, and it's kind of the climax of Pesukei de Zimra, is totally absent, I like to point out, in our first Siddur. And then where do we go to after those verses? What's the last paragraph?
Yishtabach.
Yishtabach, which sounds pretty much, I'll just say it. Yishtabach Shekhan Elokeinu, Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol HaKadosh B'Shamayim V'Aretz, Ki L'chan Hashem Na'eh Hashem Elokeinu Shir Ha'el. It's really, that is like 98% our Yishtabach. So my point just being, the earliest version of Pesukei de Zimra that we have says, the Chazan does Baruch Sha'amar, a few verses, Ashrei, through the end of the book of Psalms, Psalm 145 through 150, 2 or 3 verses, and then Yishtabach. So Pesukei de Zimra originally really was the Psalms of 145 through 150, with a couple of verses before and after, and then Baruch Sha'amar and Yishtabach. So that is actually a much, I'm going to call it, besides the fact that it is shorter, okay, it is also kind of a much cleaner Pesukei de Zimra. Pesukei de Zimra is basically the last 6 Psalms of the book of Psalms with a blessing before and after, right? Which the Chazan leads. And again, the Chazan leads presumably because people don't have books. By the way, Mizrachim still do it this way. If you go to a Mizrachi shul, they say all of this, the Chazan says all of it aloud, and the people say it with him. Okay, and that's based on, traditions where people don't have printed prayer books. So the Chazan leads every word aloud, and the Kahal says it along. All right? So it's interesting that original Pesukei de Zimra, or Pesukei de Zimra, we don't know what there was in the year 400, but the earliest Siddur that we have has a Pesukei de Zimra that's much more spare and lean than what we have, and kind of also has a simplicity and integrity to it. And then this stuff with long selections of verses, and the stuff from Chronicles and Nehemiah and Az Yashir, all of that is a later edition, which is not original. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we're 5 minutes over, but if anyone has a question, you can ask me a question. Class is over. I'm supposed to say, come back next week to Siddur class. Okay. They want me to say at the end of it, I'm supposed to say something.